All right, what's going on, everybody? Wally here. That's Too Bad podcast. Happy New Year to everybody. It's also Chicago Bears Sunday. Let's go Bears! Fuck down. We got the Rams in a little bit here. We got the Patriots going on right now. Um, as a Bears fan, I'm excited, but I am extremely nervous, especially when you got Matthew Stafford, the quarterback. So, should be a fun game. It's cold. It's snowy. Hopefully the Bears win. But anyways, like I said, Happy New Year. It's 2026, and a lot has happened right now in golf in 2026 so far. A lot of controversial topics I want to cover. So just diving straight into it. The first thing that happened uh, that we saw in 2026 was Vijay Singh, the exemption to partake in the PGA Tour this year. And I want to start by saying that this has nothing against Vijay Singh by any means. I've been a huge fan of his for a long time, both when he was on tour, the Champions Tour. I love watching him and his son in the PNC Championship at the end of each year. Vijay's been one of these guys who's really, I think, connected to a younger generation of golfers via social media, kind of like we've seen with a lot of different golfers, especially the older ones like Phil Mickelson. I was never a big fan of Phil for a long time when he was on tour. And then I saw this different side of him on social media. Now I love watching Phil, whether it's on LIV, YouTube, when he was still on the tour. Um, I've always been an Ian Poulter fan, which I know is very controversial for some people. Um, I've always just liked just his style. I always thought it was kind of funny when he would blow up on courses. He was very animated on the courses when he was a lot younger. Social media, and I think him having a big family has really mellowed him down, but in a very, very good way. Again, I think social media, he's connected to a different audience, or younger audience, I would say. And and just like a lot of different golfers, I mean, we see them all. They're on social media, Instagram, X, whatever, and it kind of gets, as fans, we get to see a different side of the tour players instead of just being always serious when you go in to watch these tournaments, whether it's on TV or you get to go and watch them live. We get to see what's going on sometimes in their day-to-day life. Sometimes we get to see, what are they working on, practicing, uh, a lot of different things that happen. But anyway, so Vijay Singh, again, I'm not, this isn't a dig against him. This is him taking advantage of what I'm going to say is a kind of an outdated exemption rule for the PGA Tour. I think they kind of have to analyze this and maybe modify it moving forward. So just to kind of, go into what the rule is so I don't get it wrong here. Players who have lost tour status but are among the top 50 all-time earners may regain full membership for a season of their choice. Vijay, ranked 6th all-time, is choosing the 2026 season to regain his PGA Tour status. Uh, I hope he does well. I mean, we got the Sony Open that's going on right now. He made the cut. There's videos that have gone viral of him hitting long drives, hitting good shots out of the fairway this week. I hope nothing for the best this season for Vijay Singh by all means. If he ends up winning tournaments, competing in majors, if he qualifies, like we know he's going to be at the Masters being a previous winner, I'll be ecstatic. Do I think it's going to happen? Not likely. I mean, there's just a lot of great talent on the PGA Tour. But I mean, hey, at 62 years old, this guy, he thinks he still has something left in the tank, and by all means, good for him for taking advantage. But this is where I kind of think the rule is a little outdated, and this is where I get kind of controversial with it. This is real. I mean, we're now in an era of golf in the PGA Tour specifically where we're moving to smaller field sizes, which means the cut lines are going to be reduced. Corn Ferry Q School to get your membership card, it's been reduced going forward. So it's making it a lot tougher to get to the PGA Tour. However, with Vijay Singh, it just seems like we're now taking one of those away regardless. Now, maybe I'm wrong. I haven't seen anything that says that this wasn't going to change taking away tour status from anybody. This wasn't going to uh, affect the 2026 season for the guys that did get their tour cards for this upcoming year. But it just seems like that's kind of like the route we might start seeing, because we might start seeing other guys on the Champions Tour or who are just sitting at home that haven't played golf in a while that might be in the top 50 in all-time earners and all of a sudden want to get back into it. And that's where I'm like, well, does that mean someone else is not getting their tour card or they're getting it pulled? It with all this great talent that's coming up, with all the great talent we have currently out there on the PGA Tour, even the LIV Tour, DP World, Corn Ferry, Q School, and then even at the collegiate and high school level. I mean, it's extremely competitive, and that's where I'm just very controversial that this could, moving forward, potentially take away a spot uh, from someone that's working very hard to get there. And again, like I said, this is not a dig on Vijay Singh at all. He's taking advantage of the PGA Tour's exemption rule, um, and I mean, why not? When it's out there and you know that, um, you know, you can qualify. Again, I mean, it'll be interesting to see what the season brings for him. I love watching his swing. He's got a lot of mobility still left. He's still got a lot left in the tank. It's just, the grind is what I worry most for him. It's a long season on tour. So we'll see what happens throughout the year. We'll keep monitoring it. And, again, I mean, I wonder if this is a case of where if he continues to make cuts, he continues to qualify for tournaments, or even finishes in the top 15, top 10 here and there. This is where, I mean, then the PGA Tour might, you know, kind of shrug and say, this is why we had this exemption rule this whole time. I mean, guys that I think about that could definitely take advantage of this will be obviously Tiger Woods, who just turned 50. And now will be eligible for the Champions Tour whenever he wants to, if he ever wants to make that leap. A lot health-wise going on with him, obviously. And I know he's very committed into his TGL league, which has been fun to watch again this year. Um, he's got his son, and well, I'm sure his daughter's doing stuff too, but we know Charlie's golfing. He's going to be big into that. And so forth. So, but like other guys, like you gotta think Phil. Though I mean, a lot of that bridge has been burnt a lot over the last 5 years or so between him going to LIV and the Saudi golf versus the PGA Tour. Uh, I I'm sure that they're gonna try to keep him out, and I'll kind of circle back to that one in a little bit here because I do kind of touch base on that with a different topic. Um, Not related directly to Phil, but I thought was kind of a shot at him. So, but yeah, anyways, we'll see what happens with Vijay Singh moving forward. Um, this podcast episode is going to be a lot of controversial takes on LIV versus the PGA, the never-ending 5-year continuous saga between the two tours. It's it's one of the most dramatic, controversial, also kind of being annoying just because it's ridiculous with between the two. Overall, there's just so much going on between the two tours, and it just seems like we're never moving in the correct direction as far as potentially merging. Um, but anyway, so a while back I saw an X. Everybody knows I'm not a fan of Brandon Chambly by any means. And I get real sick and tired of his tweeting or whatever you want to call it on X. And so he comes out and has tweets out about it's something with Rory and LIV, and just that there needs to be overall there needs to be punishment and consequences that need to be also very severe for these guys that want to come from LIV back to the PGA Tour. And again, in Rory McIlroy, this is where I've said this before on the podcast. I love Rory McIlroy, the golfer, but when it comes to like the politics of it right now, and really over the last few years, like he is so back and forth with some of his comments. It's just unbelievable. It's getting to a point where you almost want Rory just to stay out of it completely at this point and just focus on golf and whatever else he's working on the side. And from the political side of it, just remove himself. Because it just seems like he's very back and forth with some of his comments. We know early, right out the gate, he was very vocal and blunt about LIV. Then when John Rahm goes and he's buddies with John Rahm, he kind of backs off. He's very, it is what it is. And then, we've seen comments after that, after about a year or so with Rahm already being on LIV, that he's back to, these guys are ridiculous. Can't believe they left, whatever. It drives me nuts. But what drives me more nuts is guys like Brandon Chambly. And I'm only singling him out because he's probably the most vocal when it comes to social media. You see him on the Golf Channel. I think the Golf Channel kind of mellows him out, or I don't know if they tell him to or whatnot, but he's extremely vocal on X, and it's unbelievable with this guy. I mean, we're now in an era, and we have been for some time now, where his comments basically very, in my opinion, he's very he discriminates against the LIV guys in a sense. We're in this movement where we're trying to get the two tours merged. It's in some fashion where we don't have these, because both tours have high talent, big time names, and we don't want to be in this era where we only see that at the majors or the Olympics or Ryder Cups. And even really not even the Ryder Cup, because the last couple captains have only picked one guy from LIV both times, whether it was Koepka a few years ago with Zach Johnson or this past year with DeChambeau, when I think there was other guys that could have easily made the team. And when you kind of start, and Brandon Chambly has completely targeted all these guys that LIV for the longest time since it's come about. Or since the tours started. And, to a degree, I understand a lot of the PGA Tour guys, the loyalty guys, comments and why they're upset. At the same time, you can't fault these guys for taking a chance or, taking this opportunity to shift gears in their careers a little bit. It is what it is. I mean, they're playing. We talk about it so much. They're playing less golf. They got more free time. They can rehab injuries, but whatever the case is. And he continues to kind of just target and he wants to almost make it very insufferable for these guys to come back to the PGA Tour. Why? I don't understand that portion of it. And the way I've been looking at it, it's like, okay, so now in football, American football, we have the NFL. We've always had the NFL, but I mean, I'm not going to bring in the NCAA, even though at this point it's becoming the freaking minor leagues of football with the NIL. But we've had the XFL, USFL, or now UFL, whatever it's called these days. Guys who go back and forth. I mean, we've got guys that play in the UFL, come to the NFL because they're being scouted. These guys aren't being fined or whatever for taking, go to play somewhere where they're getting paid. Same with the CFL in Canada. The one big one for me that sticks out is in hockey. I mean, we got the NHL. There's a lot of other leagues over in Europe and Russia. The big one being the KHL. These guys that leave the NHL to go to the KHL to go get paid to go play, and some of them do come back to the NHL. They don't get penalized because of that. So this is where I get confused. It's like, okay, a tour, it's almost like the PGA Tour with loyalists and everything are so offended that someone wanted to create another tour. Now, I mean, it could also be the political side of it, which I don't want to get into. I keep my political views out, and it could be because it's the Saudi back stuff. Very well, that could be the biggest driving factor for. I'm sure with certain people, maybe Brandon Chambly, that's the only thing that matters. I understand that point. But to continue to want to penalize these golfers that at some point want to come back, it's like you're making it so insufferable to the point where if someone comes back, which we're going to touch base on here in a second, the rest of the field for LIV is going to say, well, why would we want to go through that? And I wouldn't blame them. And I mean, at the point of like, if we do end up merging in some fashion, it's like, are we really going to continue to penalize the LIV guys? You know, if we do get to merge the tours together and we do get a season where we're playing a quote unquote PGA Tour schedule with LIV tournaments mixed in, however that, that's a very hypothetical situation and how it would be played out at this point. But yeah, I mean, it kind of baffles my mind. I mean, again, like I go back to the fact that we have other sports that have multiple leagues, whether it's in the U.S., whether it's over in Europe somewhere, Canada, etc. And it doesn't seem to bother these other sports, but it seems to just piss off the PGA Tour and the PGA Tour loyalist. Again, I get it to a degree, but at the same time, it kind of drives me nuts a little bit. I mean, this is where, I'm just, we're talking about LIV guys going back to the PGA Tour, and we saw Brooks Koepka is now officially back at the PGA Tour. His contract ran up, I believe, at the December of 2025, and no conversations, nothing were in the works of renewing with LIV, and reached back, I guess submitted to the PGA Tour to be reinstated. And now this is where this is where the PGA, I think, is trying to lure as many guys back to LIV as possible. But again, this is where I was talking about where it's like, all right, well, Koepka agreed to something, and not every guy at LIV is, I think, going to want to go through this and is going to say, I'm just going to stick with where I'm at, potentially renegotiate with LIV, whatever. But right now, there's a returning members program, and I had to write this down so I didn't get this wrong by any means. So this is an alternate route to return to the PGA. This is not a route that's going to stick from here on out. This is, I think, right now, as of right now, a one-time opportunity that ends February 2nd. And it requires winning the Players, Masters, PGA, US Open, US Open, the Open Championship. And this is where I thought this was targeted at Phil between 2022 and 2025. Why those years? Whatever. You have a 5-year forfeiture of potential equity. In addition, Koepka was also asked to make a $5 million charitable donation. I'm sure the $5 million charitable donation doesn't bother him at all. He made a lot over at LIV. But there's not, I mean, this was basically targeting the smallest group of LIV golfers. And again, no equality from the PGA Tour. If you're going to make a returning members program to the PGA Tour, it should be reflecting all the guys that are under the LIV Tour brand, whether you won majors or not. Because I mean, there's guys like Joaquin Neiman, who's a phenomenal talent. You know, now he's gonna, like, is is the PGA basically saying you're gonna struggle to come back, Joaquin? I don't know. And again, I think it was targeted because at Phil a little bit because his last major was in 2021. Basically, I think the PGA has stated there, Phil, even if you wanted to come back in this window, tough shit. We don't want you back. This very pettiness between the PGA. It's really the pettiness comes from the PGA. The LIV Tour is really just takes. I mean, again, I'm defending LIV here. I like both tours. I watch both. I don't have issues with the LIV Tour. I initially did when it first came out, but then I watched and I've been now to one of the LIV events. I don't have issues with what they've done. I don't think they've ruined golf by any means. Um, I think they captured a targeted audience that was sort of disappearing in golf a little bit. And it kind of makes me, the LIV atmosphere reminds me of like when you watch Happy Gilmore and that one tournament, it's just, bunch of rednecks or whoever, and they're all tailgating, and you got the beach ball going, beer bongs, and you would think they're tailgating for a football game at a golf tournament, and Schumer Gavin's losing his mind, but he goes, if you remember, goes to the commissioner and wants this all removed, and so, well, our ratings are through the roof. We can't get rid of them. I feel like that LIV kind of captured somewhat of an audience that professional golf was before them kind of lacking a little bit. I mean, there was so much excitement and great golf before the LIV Tour in the PGA Tour. But again, I mean, just like the things they've done differently. But I don't think they've made a mockery of golf. I don't think they've destroyed the game of golf by any means. And so, like I said, I'm defending LIV to a degree where they just continue to take blow after blow after blow, and it really, I just the PGA Tour very, you know, I don't even know what's the best word to really describe how the tour reacts and responds to anything like this, but it's just very petty. It's like it's like the number one thing that continues to pop in my head. And it's a shame that that's what it's like now. Again, like, do I think the LIV guys deserve to be making $600 million a year? No, no one does. But again, like, who someone has that money and they wanted to pay certain guys to do it. Whatever. If someone came to my front door right now and said, "Hey, for $500 million, leave your job and come work for us," I mean, it would be hard to say no. I mean, I have my own morals and checklists I would go through to see if I would even want to do it, but like, but anyway, it's cool to see Brooks Koepka is going to be back on a PGA Tour schedule, so we're going to get to see him play in a lot of events that's not just majors this year. So, what I'm excited for, the last time I think I won money on Brooks Koepka was when he won the Waste Management a few years back before he joined LIV. Uh, a lot of different, get to see him play in the players and stuff like that. So it's going to be cool to see him. I hope that he can stay healthy. I hope that he can also contend in a lot of these tournaments. He's always been one of my favorite golfers for the longest time. So, and I always want to see him do extremely well. So yeah, and will we see other guys from LIV jump to the PGA? Time will tell. I don't think anybody's going to jump back to the PGA in this window that they have open till February 2nd. That's for sure. Again, like I think that's targeting a very small pool of players there for the PGA. And so when this all happened with Brooks, it was announced that he was going back to the PGA Tour. First thing I did, obviously, go to social media, go to Instagram, go to X, kind of start reading and seeing what people are reacting. Really, the only time I'm on social media is to see reactions and all that stuff from different people, especially when stuff like this comes out. One person that popped up right away, long time reporter, social media guy, used to work for Barstool, Dan Rappaport. Normally, I don't have issues with Dan. I think he's a great guy for golf. One always seems to be in good spirits when whether he's recording a podcast, whether he's on YouTube playing golf, whatever the case is. Not all the times do I agree with him, and this was one of them where he blurted out that this move with Brooks going back to the PGA Tour is signaling that LIV is dying. I could not disagree more with that. One golfer, and again, I get it, Brooks Koepka is a big time name, but one golfer is not going to kill the LIV Tour. Now, if you're talking about DeChambeau, Patrick Reed, Joaquin Niemann, John Rahm, we might be now heading in that direction a little bit, but this one is not killing LIV. In fact, I am sure LIV took this as an opportunity to get somebody that the PGA Tour maybe is neglecting or not, getting up, bringing them up to the PGA Tour status. So everybody knows Koepka was captain of Team Smash. That ended up being given out to Taylor Gooch. So we'll see what he can put together with his team this upcoming season for Team Smash. But yeah, I don't see where this is going to destroy LIV Golf. I mean, it hurts, but I don't think it's going to destroy them by any means. They still got a lot of high profile names that will continue to drive their status in the direction that they want to go. And then really I feel like I've been talking more about LIV than the PGA Tour, but we all know on this podcast we're big Anthony Kim fans, and Anthony Kim, who got relegated last year, just wasn't making enough or wasn't playing well enough to continue his status in the top 54. Went down to like their version of Q School. I don't know. I got to look up what their version's called. But I know, anyways, had to play a tournament and had to finish, I think, in the top three. I'm pretty sure that was the exact top three. Get exempt and get to go, get their status back on the LIV Tour. AK played phenomenal. I mean, had some ups and downs, but overall played phenomenal in that tournament. And even though it was, I believe, for bogey on the 18th hole, makes the bogey to solidify his solo third and requalifies for the LIV 2026 season. This gets me excited from a nostalgia standpoint because AK, again, this guy was like the abominable snowman. You knew the name from his past, but you almost had like a younger generation probably doesn't believe that how good he was or any of the sorts. And not being on social media for the longest time, you had no idea where this guy was at, how he was doing, if he was alive, if he was dead. We all know he's gone to rehab. We know his daughter and his wife saved his life. And then LIV gives him this opportunity to reinvent himself a little bit by coming back out and golfing, something that he put away for over 10 years. And now he's playing, I don't want to say extremely well, but he is playing well enough now where you see in different videos and interviews, like he posted a YouTube video not too long ago that I watched, where he is motivated and excited for the upcoming season. He's constantly practicing. He's constantly grinding. Uh, and he wants to succeed at the highest level. He wants to get back in this mojo of winning because he wants to do it for his wife. He wants to do it for his daughter specifically. He wants to qualify for majors again and be a big name on whatever tour status he has at that time. That's what gets me excited for Anthony Kim. Again, I was a big fan of his when he was young, and potentially the next Tiger Woods, etc. And then obviously we all know the story: hurt, disappears off the face of the earth for over 10 years. And this just gets me excited for him to watch live throughout this year and really watch specifically for him and see how he's doing. Again, I follow him on Instagram and all that. I mean, the swing looks great. He's always posting his practicing of putting and whatnot. So very excited for that. And then lastly, as we all know, I like to kind of give a little tip on from the amateur side. And, the one thing I tell this to a lot of people when I play golf, the one thing you got to continuously practice is the short game: putting, chipping within 100 yards. Putting is always obviously key. If you're not making your putts, you're not going to, reduce that score and reduce your handicap. So stuff that like I work on when I'm at home, and you could do it even at the course, is I like working on trying to get a good tempo in my putting motion, kind of build a muscle memory. One thing I also do work on is I take 2 rubber bands, put them on the toe and the heel, and I'm pretty sure I've talked about this before in the podcast, of the putter face, basically only exposing just enough of the sweet spot that can fit a golf ball. And this is working on consistency, hitting the middle of the face every time. I'm not trying to toe it or heel it. If I do, clearly the rubber band's going to make that ball do something stupid, and it's going to continue help me work on not only the muscle memory of the motion, but muscle memory of my brain, watching the ball down with my eyes, club goes back, club goes forward, all that stuff. It's all about building consistency in your putting motion. And again, this is good because especially for like me in the Midwest, where right now it's starting to snow, I can't go outside of the range. You could do this at home on the carpet. You can do this on your putting mat, hardwood floor, in your garage. But it's also something you could do right before a round, or when you're just at the driving range and you're going to go putt for a few minutes. Or shoot, if you want to do it right before you go to bed, too, first thing you wake up in the morning while your coffee's brewing. It's just consistent hitting the center of the face every time is going to be key for your putting. And then obviously you can develop into understanding and reading the greens a little bit better and going forward, working on your chipping. I feel like if you can really get the muscle memory down of hitting the center of the face with your putter, it helps with same with your chipping, and then eventually your 3/4 swing, half swing, full swing. The eyes, the muscle memory is consistent with hitting the middle of the face of the club, no matter what the club is or the putter. So that's my little tip, to just continue grinding it out with that putter, guys. Again, work on that short game. The driver will come at some point. Do not go to the range and just start blasting driver, 3 woods, 4 irons, whatever. Work on 9-iron down to your 56, potentially 60 if you have one in the bag, and then go putt for 45 minutes. I again, I'm not a coach, I'm not a whatever, I'm not a tour member, but I promise you that will help reduce your score moving forward. And then speaking of 2026, I am going to attempt to post a lot more on YouTube this year. So I'm going to try to go different courses throughout in Illinois, maybe in Michigan, wherever I can. Bring my camera out, and just film some content for you guys, and you guys can see how I play and my mindset and whatnot. If there's anybody that's out there that wants to for free help with the editing and whatnot, please hit me up, DM me on any of my socials, and let's put something together. Let's and talk it out. But yeah, gonna try to get the YouTube page going this year. I'm pretty excited. I got some new equipment that I'm gonna bring out in the course this year, and then working on the game obviously is gonna be the biggest thing going into the spring season. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, that's all I got for you guys for today. And excited for the 2026 season kicking off for the PGA Tour. The LIV guys will start soon. So, but yeah, I got to go and watch the Bears in a little bit, and hopefully it's a bear down win. But anyways, as always, guys, let's go low.